Tonight on Dynasty Decisions, we are going to determine, are you a contender or a pretender? That and more starting now.
Finna take off on spaceship. Y'all need some like Matrix. And fucking her like she nameless. Cause the last two was too famous. We got that trophy like a champion. Fell asleep right on the jet. We gone.
Big ring just like a champion. No TSA, hop on a jet. We gone.
Smash out. I call my own and then I smash out. I bought my bros, let's get this cash out. I in my mind, drop the bag off, yeah. I'm going top rate, don't make no bad call. Just bought a new crib, but one was mad small. I trip my cup, I make it mad tall. None of these songs is basic, yeah. Grease stuck in my teeth like braces, yeah. VVS's don't need LASIK, yeah. Ice out crosses freezing Satan, yeah. Finna take off on spaceship. Y'all need some like Matrix. And fucking her like she nameless. Cause the last two was too famous.
Welcome back to Dynasty Decisions. I'm your host, Michael Bauer. So, how you feeling after week 6? I'm currently recording during the Monday night game. I'll tell you what, man, watching the Bills, watching the Titans, it is really, really weird to watch a quarterback with arm strength, but it is what it is. That's for a different show. We're here talking about your fantasy football teams, how your team's doing. I'm not going to lie. I got some teams that are winless yet, but man, injuries, and now we're getting into bye weeks. Week 7 is the heaviest bye week of this. Heaviest amount of teams on the bye week for the season. Buffalo, Dallas, Jacksonville, the Chargers, and the Vikings. Always look ahead. Always look ahead to your bye weeks. Next week, Baltimore and Las Vegas. That's it. Just 2. So next week, much easier to get by than this week. Let's talk about some guys that I think are going to be big. Could help you out the next 2 weeks. There's actually a trio of Washington football team players that I want you guys to keep your eye on, okay? First one might not be available in too many leagues. J.D. McKissick. Antonio Gibson re-aggravates his shin injury. J.D. McKissick, man, he's been startable all year. Should increase more so. 8 carries, 45 yards, no touchdowns. 8 catches, 65 yards, no touchdowns. So no touchdowns on the board. Lots of touches, though, which is important. Ricky Seals-Jones, 4 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. So he's filling in for Logan Thomas. Definitely worth a stash. Spot start if you need him. And Dami Brown, this is more or less for a dynasty thing. 3 catches, 30 yards. What I liked about Dami Brown, coming out of the University of North Carolina, great route runner. He is not just a possession receiver. He can be elusive. Outside wide receiver. That's good to know. Good hands, but he can have stone hands at times. You know, obviously these guys, they're going to mature a little bit. He's a good enough blocker, which is important. Why is that important, Mike? You don't get points for blocking. No, but when you do all the things the coaches want you to do that gets you on the field, when you're on the field, you have an opportunity to get more points always. Great ability to get behind coverage and get open. One thing I did not like, he could fight a little bit harder for extra yardage, but these are things that can be worked on. So Dami Brown, put him on your radar, as well as Amon-Ra St. Brown. I've been talking about him for a while now. Quintez Cephas is out for the season with a broken collarbone. He didn't do much this past week. 5 catches, 26 yards, no touchdowns, but he did have 7 targets. It's a good uptick there. Khalil Herbert in spot duty. Damian Williams was put on the COVID list. He should be back next week, so I think Khalil Herbert's stats are going to go down a little bit. 19 carries, 97 yards. I had that incorrect. 1 touchdown, 2 catches for 15 yards. The Virginia Tech product doing pretty well in his first start of his career. Forgive me 1 second. I should have had a drink before I started this. So Nico Collins comes off the IR for the Houston Texans. He's another guy I like in Dynasty, 3rd-round draft pick out of the University of Michigan. 4 catches, 44 yards, no touchdown. Listen, you plugged him in, that's 8.4 points. Better than a goose egg. We're going to get into the part of the season now. Injuries, bye weeks, guys getting replaced. We've seen it happen before. The stuff that you're putting in your lineup's not going to be pretty. It's just not. but you need points. That's what we're here to do. Man, Dante freaking Pettis, 11 targets for the New York Giants, 5 catches, 48 yards. Is it sustainable? I don't think so. Kadarius Toney did re-aggravate his ankle injury. Oh my God, Josh Allen with a beautiful pass to Stephon Diggs. Is that a touchdown? I don't think so. I think Diggs pushed off. But anyway, I don't think it's sustainable. Kadarius Toney, he got banged up. Colin Johnson got into the mix a little bit too. Darius Slayton's still out. Kenny Galladay was out. I probably wouldn't put any fab money down on Dante Pettis. If I had a deep enough league where I could stash him just in case, then yeah, throw a fab dollar or two. But otherwise, I'm just going to let him hang out there. Devontae Booker, man, not doing anything with his opportunity. That being said, the New York Giants offensive line is terrible. 12 carries, 41 yards, no touchdowns, 4 catches for 28 yards and no touchdowns. So you could do worse. You could do better. I still think he's startable. Just temper your expectations. Chuba Hubbard. Is Chuba Hubbard going to have a role when Christian McCaffrey gets back? You know, kind of like a Tony Pollard to Ezekiel Elliott role? If so, we're talking about a guy who could be like an RB3 flex start for you. 16 carries, 61 yards, and 1 touchdown. Just 1 catch for 4 yards, but it was on 3 targets. So it's one thing to think about. Another guy, Tommy Tremble, the University of Notre Dame tight end, who was a 3rd-round draft pick of the Carolina Panthers. So admittedly, watching film, I do have a bit of a bias because I hated Ian Book so much. Tommy Tremble, I thought he was a good blocker, lines up at fullback at times, so he is very versatile. Nice hands, not much after the catch. I've been wrong about all those things so far. He's looked pretty athletic, pretty good. That being said, in the Joe Brady system, you know what I mean? He's going to find a way to maximize opportunities for his players. So that in the 3rd-round draft capital, you know what I mean? If you can get Tommy Tremble on your roster, definitely want to do it now rather than later. Same thing with Dawson Knox. I think Dawson Knox, I don't have him on here because that game's still going on, but I love me some Dawson Knox. Hey, Denver running back split tracker. So Melvin Gordon, 10 carries, 50 yards, no touchdowns. 3 catches, 23 yards, no touchdowns. Javonte Williams, 11 for 53 and 3 for 15. So he did out-touch Melvin Gordon by 1 touch. So we'll see. It's still pretty split. I mean, it's working for the Broncos. You know what I mean? This backfield rotation is working. So there's no need to change anything right now. Sorry, Javonte Truthers. I just don't think it's going to happen this year, barring injury. Another interesting one, the Las Vegas Raiders running back situation. So Josh Jacobs was banged up, missed some time. We had all sorts of crazy Peyton Barber season out there for a while. Like, who the hell saw that coming? But check out these splits real quick because I thought this was interesting. And especially with the defense like the Eagles coming up, who've allowed a lot of room to running backs. I mean, these are guys that I really like for DFS a lot this week. I'm probably going to plug both of them into a couple lineups. I might even put both of them in the same lineup, see what happens. Josh Jacobs, 16 for 53 and 1 on the ground, 1 for 29 through the air, no touchdowns there. Kenyon Drake, man, 4 carries, 34 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 catches, 39 yards, and 1 touchdown. So these guys right now are both startable. Like, both of them are startable. And you can't be complaining with what you're getting. And seriously, Alex Collins for the Seattle Seahawks with Geno Smith starting 20 for 101 and 1 on the ground, 1 catch for -3 yards. Okay, so didn't do much through the air, didn't do anything through the air. But I mean, let's not forget, a few years ago, Alex Collins, I believe, was convicted of felony for having some sort of weapons possession. You're going to have to look into that on your own. But man, there it is. So one last thing I want to talk to you about before we get out of here tonight. Now is the time. You know what your teams look like. Okay, you can tell who's a paper tiger, who's looking good. What are you going to do? Are you contender or pretender? If you think you're a contender, freaking go for it. Make your moves. Do what you got to do. Bring home that money. If you're not, and this is a seasonal league, don't be the guy that just gives up. Stop setting your lineup. Set your lineup. Learn from this. What can you do better next year? See what the good teams are doing. Take some advice from them, maybe. Set your lineups, play the spoiler. Have fun. You never know. I've seen guys that thought they were out of it and they end up finishing 3rd or 4th and still getting their money back or a little bit of money. Just keep trying. Don't stop. Now, if it's a dynasty league and you think you're out of it, make some good behind the scenes trades. Now is the time to trade for guys. I like to trade for PPR backs that aren't doing much. Devin Singletary, although he is doing a lot. Devin Singletary looks pretty good this year. Kenneth Gainwell, I think he's going to be huge. Naheem Hines, guys like that. Receiving backs. Look for backup running backs here that you think might have a shot or a second or third down the row in case of injuries. It doesn't hurt. Khalil Herbert was a third string running back, and he might have won you a week last week. So look for guys like that. Look at the waiver wire. Do some research. One other thing I want to talk to you guys about. We're a few weeks into the season now, and I'm sure you've noticed that a lot of times when the season starts, content creators taper off as well, just like your fantasy team could do. So when you're taking actionable content advice from people, take it from the people that are there every week. If they're there every week, they're going to be there for you every week. They're going to give you the better advice. Not saying that I'm better than anybody. And I'm not saying it has to be me. You could always reach me at Rewind CEO if you have any questions. But just in general, fantasy football is always going to be there. The FF Face-Off is a fantastic in-season podcast. Fantasy and Frames, these are guys that I love. Personally, I love their podcast. I've been on their podcast. I haven't been on Fantasy Footballers. Guys like that, fantastic. And you know what? They're a little bit different than the big ESPNs and CBS guys because those guys are real chalk. These guys here, they're going to give you some really good, in-depth, detailed analysis. And hey, any questions you have, hit me up. That's what I'm here for. But until next time, a little bit of a shorter episode. I'm sorry, I just didn't have as much time this weekend to go as in-depth as I wanted to. Just wanted to really touch on the important stuff to me. But until next time, go Birds.